Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast.
Good to be back.
Today, we're focusing on Patterson-UTI Energy, PTEN.
Right.
We got a whole stack of info sent over, analyses, news, due diligence.
Pretty good mix of perspectives then.
Our job is to pull out the key stuff, figure out what's going on with PTEN right now.
Okay, let's get into it. Where do we start?
Well, first off, they're an oilfield services provider.
Right, but it's pretty broad, isn't it? Contract drilling, pressure pumping.
Completions, yeah, and directional drilling.
And they're doing some other interesting things too, like natural gas fueling and battery storage.
Energy management systems, yeah. Lithium-ion batteries mentioned.
That's looking a bit forward-thinking for the sector.
And they have these specific parts of the business, right? Subsidiaries.
Correct. You've got next year, this is the one with the ESG angle on fracking.
ESG, okay. And MS Directional.
They handle the well planning, execution side of things.
Gotcha. And Ulterra, that sounds familiar.
Ulterra is the drill bit company, PDC bits. They're apparently huge in North America.
Dominant, it says, and expanding globally.
That bit technology, plus their automation on land rigs, that sounds like a potential edge.
Efficiency, maybe? Faster drilling?
Could be. Specialized bits can really make a difference. Cuts downtime, saves money for the operators.
So that Ulterra piece could be quite valuable.
Potentially higher margin, maybe. And being global helps spread the risk.
Okay, shifting gears. Recent performance. What's happening now?
Well, the big date coming up is April 24th.
The Q1 2025 earnings call.
And the webcast. That'll be crucial viewing for anyone interested.
Definitely. Before that, though, February and March activity looked stable.
You seem so. Reports mentioned averaging around 106, 107 rigs operating in the U.S.
So consistency there in their main business line.
Which is, a good sign of its potential market ups and downs. Stability matters.
Then something happened April 17th, a new contract.
A significant one, apparently.
Significant enough that the stock jumped. Let's see, about 4.7%.
That's a pretty strong market reaction. Shows what new business can do for sentiment.
Investors clearly like that news.
Positive signal about future revenue, locking in work.
What about the analysts? What's the overall feeling?
Generally bullish, it seems. The average price target is around $11 a share.
$11? Okay, wait, the recent price was about $5.66.
So yeah, almost double. That's quite optimistic.
Mostly buy ratings.
The dominant rating is buy, yeah. Though there's a note about some recent slight lowering of targets.
Why's that? Sector volatility.
That's the suggestion.
Yeah.
So long-term positive view, maybe, but acknowledging some near-term bumps, perhaps.
It's always that balance, isn't it? Near-term versus long-term.
It is. Analysts probably see potential later in the year, maybe cost cuts helping if commodity prices hold up.
Let's talk financials then.
Okay.
Q4 2024 revenue, $1.35 billion.
That's a big number. Shows their scale in the market.
Although it mentions long-term growth has fluctuated.
Well, that's pretty typical for this industry, tied to oil and gas prices,
Right. Now, earnings per share. Trailing EPS late last year was negative, minus $2.47.
So recent losses. Not ideal.
But the estimates for Q1 and Q2 this year, they're hinting at maybe breaking even or slightly positive.
Looks like it. Something like minus 6 cents to maybe plus 8 cents per share.
That could be the start of a turnaround, potentially.
It's definitely what people will be watching for on that earnings call, getting back into the black even slightly.
And because of those negative earnings, there's no real PE ratio to look at right now.
Nope. Can't calculate a meaningful positive one.
Unlike profitable peers, which might be trading at, 10 to 20 times earnings?
Somewhere in that range, yeah. So PTN needs positive EPS before that comparison works.
Okay. And they're spending money, too. Capital expenditures for 2025, around $600 million planned.
That's a hefty investment.
Shows commitment to the business, I suppose. Upgrades, new tech, maybe?
Could be maintaining equipment, expanding the fleet, or R&D. Need to see where it's going.
The report also highlights their size leading U.S. market share in pressure pumping and drilling.
That scale is an advantage.
And being in both drilling and completions, that diversification helps.
It should. If one area slows down, the other might pick up the slack. A bit of a cushion.
So strengths and weaknesses, let's crystallize those. Strengths.
Okay. The integrated model seems like a plus, offering multiple services.
Builds customer relationships, maybe? Efficiencies?
Potentially. Then there's that ESG focus with next year. That's increasingly important.
More environmentally conscious fracking. How does that work?
Could be things like cleaner chemicals, water recycling, reducing emissions, stuff operators and investors care about now.
Makes sense. And Altera again, the global bit manufacturing.
That global footprint and potentially specialized tech is definitely a strength.
Okay. And the flip side, risks. Red flags.
Well, the big one is always commodity prices.
Yep.
Oil and gas volatility, that's inherent.
Can't escape that in this sector.
Nope. And the high capex needed to stay competitive. That's always a pressure.
And regulations, fracking regs.
Regulatory pressure is definitely a factor to watch, always evolving.
How does PTN stack up against the competition in the bigger picture?
Well, the U.S. rig count seems pretty stable overall, even with oil price swings. PTN's steady ops fit that picture.
So they're navigating the same environment as others.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But their focus is different. They're mainly U.S. land drilling and completions.
Not like Halliburton's global integrated services.
Exactly. Or Schlumberger, which leans more into digital and offshore tech.
So PTN has its niche, number 2 or 3 U.S. land provider.
That's the estimate. And those specialized bits from Altera are a key differentiator for them.
Looking ahead, catalysts, things that could boost them.
The report mentioned expanding those intelligent field gas solutions.
Okay. And the lithium-ion batteries for rigs?
More adoption, there could be a growth driver. New revenue streams?
And future risks, besides the usual volatility.
Longer term. You've got the EV transition potentially hitting oil demand.
The demand destruction argument.
Right. And also margin pressure. If competition heats up and service pricing gets squeezed.
Price wars are never good for margins.
Definitely not.
Okay, last point. Market sentiment. What's the vibe out there?
Seems like there's positive chatter online, social media, Reddit, after that contract news.
Optimism about the upcoming earnings?
Some of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But also cautionary voices. People saying, hold on, let's see the actual Q1 numbers.
Sensible. Wait for the official data.
So a mix. Cautious optimism might be the best way to put it.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up for everyone. Patterson-UTI Energy. It looks like a company with a solid operational base.
A big footprint in U.S. land services.
And some recent good news with that major contract win boosting the stock.
Definitely provided a near-term lift.
But there are those past losses, the negative EPS recently, and just the general ups and downs of the energy market.
Which makes that April 24th earnings call really, really important.
Critical inflection point, perhaps.
Could be. Analysts seem hopeful with that high price target. But the risks are clear. Commodity prices, energy transition long-term.
So that recent contract and these upcoming earnings, this feels like where things could get, well, quite interesting for PTEN. Yeah.
It's definitely a key period to watch them closely.
We hope breaking this down has given you all a clearer picture of what's in play here.
Lots of moving parts to consider.
Now think about what other questions this raises for you as you keep an eye on PTEN.
What else do you need to know?
And hey, if you found this useful, please remember to subscribe, give us a like, maybe leave a comment.
Helps us know what you find valuable. See you next time.